As soon as I go live, I'll fix that.
All right.
Looks nice outside.
Well, it's sunny.
Sunny.
Yeah.
That's all I know. That's it. So do we have
Sunny. Thank you for the.
Oh,
I
that's
can't.
all right. Okay, we are live and chat is going, so we're good.
Morning, everyone.
Morning.
We will begin with an invocation provided by Commissioner Curran, wherever he may be, Michigan, Florida, or parts in between, followed by the pledge led by Commissioner Hinkleman. If you wish to join me, please stand.
Thank you, Mac. Let us pray. Dear Lord, we thank you for overseeing our meeting today. Bless each and every one of us and give us the wisdom and vision to do right. Please bless our employees, our citizens, and everyone who has been affected by the COVID pandemic. We ask that you heal those with the virus and welcome into heaven those that have passed. Please let us be filled with your spirit and spread love, joy, peace, goodness, and faithfulness always. In God's name, amen.
Thank you, Jim. John?
My name is pledge. With me, the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Bell.
Present via Zoom, City of St. Joseph.
Curran.
Present via Zoom, Winter Haven, Florida.
Freely.
Present via Zoom, Baroda Township.
Harrison.
Present via Zoom from Lincoln Township.
Hinkleman.
Present, Zoom, Waterville.
Yes, perfect. Majerick.
Present via Zoom, Niles, Michigan.
Meeks. Meeks.
Don called me just as I was coming in the building about 10 minutes ago. I wasn't able to get the call. He may well have been calling to say he's having some technical difficulties.
Yeah, he's not.
Because I see he's not on the screen. Annette, can you ask Betsy to call
Yep.
Mr. Meeks and see if he needs some help?
Scott.
Present via Zoom, New Buffalo Township.
Ballrat.
Present via Zoom, Coloma Township.
Werfel.
Present via Zoom, Royalton Township.
Yarborough.
Present via Zoom, City of Benton Harbor.
Elliott.
Present here in the boardroom.
Mr. Chair, you have 11 present, 1 absent.
Thank you. Minutes from last week were sent out. Haven't heard that anyone wants any revisions made to those minutes, so a motion to approve is in order.
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Freely, and I would make that motion that we approve the minute.
This is Michael Majerick. I'll second.
Moved by Freeling, supported by Majerick. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Curran.
Yes.
Freely.
Yes.
Harrison.
Yes.
Hinkleman.
Yes.
Majerick.
Yes.
Meeks. No. Scott.
Yes.
Ballrat.
Yes.
Werfel. Werfel, are you still there? Yep.
Yes.
Yarborough.
Yes.
Bell. Bell.
Yes. Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 11 yeas.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, we have some communications.
Yes, we received an email communication from Cheryl Marie Lynch, New Buffalo Township, an email regarding a closing clause to be added to the virus-related resolution for reopening local businesses. Received on February 19th, Carla Jackson Johnson Buchanan, an email regarding Galaxy roller rink case and continued restrictions of county business. Received on February 21st, Livingston County Board of Commissioners, a resolution calling upon the governor and the Michigan Department of Health and Human Service to retract their SBI social factor-based plan and replace it with a scientific medical factor-based plan that results in a pro rata uniform distribution to Michigan's most medically vulnerable population. Received on February 23rd, Kelly Clark Baroda, an email regarding Governor Whittemer's statement last Thursday, received on February 24th. That's all.
Very good, thank you. Presentations, Arthur Havlicek, are you on board?
I am here, Commissioner.
Remind everybody else to mute themselves.
Okay, before you start, anyone who's not talking, please mute your microphone so we can reduce the feedback. And if something comes up during the course of the presentation, just wave your hand where it can be seen and we'll unmute and bring you in. Okay, Arthur, go ahead.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It's a pleasure to join you all this morning on behalf of the Southwest Michigan Regional Chamber. I'd really like to use my time today to speak in support of the two resolutions you're considering. I'll try to be brief, but my goal this morning is really to address the public with some of these comments just as much as I'm addressing you. You know, as the voice for business in the region, our chamber is strongly encouraging you to adopt the resolution urging the governor to institute a new regional approach to restrictions. You know, while genuinely empathetic towards Governor Whitmer for the weight of responsibility she's carried, the simple truth is that her administration has not always gotten it right, and we're at a point in this fight against COVID-19 where we could adopt a more thoughtful approach. Some of the adversity that our businesses have experienced was truly necessary, you know, as we rushed to implement measures to curb the spread of a then, you know, at the beginning, a relatively unknown virus. A state of emergency was declared, a stay-at-home order issued, places of public accommodation were shut down. And I think the overwhelming majority of citizens understood and appreciated these measures. They followed them. Similarly, our business community reacted quickly by pivoting their products and services and delivery systems to protect employees and customers alike. Thankfully, we know much more about this virus than we did 1 year ago. We know more about its transmissibility, its incubation period, its lethality. It's fortunately not as deadly as we once believed. We know that frequent hand washing, social distancing, mask wearing can protect an individual from contracting and transmitting it to others. And most importantly, we now have a vaccine to further protect the public, especially our most vulnerable populations from the virus's most deadly symptoms. You know, thanks to this progress, I believe we're now winning the fight. Since the peak of the surge last fall, our hospital capacity has plummeted from 20.1% to 4% today. Our cases have dropped from 747 per million residents to 48 per million residents today. And our percent positivity rate of COVID-19 tests have dropped from its fall peak of 15.7% to 3.4% today. Even more encouraging, according to MDHHS's press conference yesterday, more than 2.6 million doses of the vaccine have been distributed in our state. Almost 675,000 Michigan citizens have been fully vaccinated. 41% over the age of 75 have had at least one dose. In Berrien County alone, over 30,000 residents have been vaccinated, and I think that's about 20% of our population. So while there's much more work to be done, it's clear we are at least on the pathway out of this public health crisis. So with hospital capacity and vaccination rates improving and the number of cases and positivity rates declining, why aren't our restrictions declining as well? Our state has continued to promulgate the same one-size-fits-all approach as it did in the early days of the pandemic. And the vast majority of other states have learned lessons from those early days and adopted rules that do not close down entire segments of the economy or entire industries for indefinite periods of time. Instead, they've found ways to empower their local governments and health departments to make informed decisions and to allow their businesses to remain open in accordance with CDC guidelines. Our neighbors in Indiana, Illinois, Ohio, Wisconsin, all have clear metric-driven roadmaps for their businesses and citizens to follow. Indiana's plan actually sets out restrictions on a county-by-county approach. They opted not to shut down dine-in at their restaurants last fall, and their public health has not suffered because of it. In fact, their statewide percent positivity rate is 4.1% compared to our 3.4. St. Joseph County, home to South Bend, is actually lower than ours at 3.1%. So to me, this highlights one of the key challenges Berrien County businesses have had to face that other counties, a vast majority of them in the state, have not. Direct competition with another state due to our proximity to the border. Over the last couple months, countless area restaurants have had to watch as revenue that could have otherwise been realized here in Michigan was instead spent in Indiana during that 75-day statewide ban on indoor dining. When it was announced dine-in could resume, it came with a 25% capacity limit and 10 p.m. curfew, which, as you all know, is simply not financially viable for a majority of area restaurants. These restrictions, as you may or may not know, have now been extended all the way to March 29th, despite the declining numbers I mentioned. And that extension came without any public announcement, any scientific justification, or any explanation from the administration. You know, make no mistake, many local businesses, particularly in the leisure and hospitality industry, have been absolutely devastated by some of these decisions. Since the start of the pandemic, according to the Michigan Restaurant and Lodging Association, over 3,000 restaurants have permanently closed their doors, and we've lost 200,000 jobs in that industry alone. While resilient, Southwest Michigan is no exception to this. According to data gathered by our community partners at Connexus, leisure and hospitality in this area accounted for 45.5% of our job losses year over year in December. We're currently around 5.4% unemployment, but when you factor in the declines in our labor force figures, that rate could be as much as 3 to 4 points higher. So as we approach Michigan's 1-year anniversary of 2 weeks to flatten the curve, you know, I think it's time we demand a new approach that values local input, takes cases, vaccinations, seasonality, and regional differences into consideration, and sets clear benchmarks for the easing of restrictions on businesses. I know that the commission's received some pushback on this, and to those who may oppose this approach, I would just say this: you know, this is not health or science versus business. Health and science and business all have the same agenda, right? We want to defeat this virus. We want to save lives. We want to return to a sense of normalcy. Adopting this resolution is not meant to deny the existence or seriousness of COVID-19 in our community, nor does it deny the need for policies aimed at preventing the spread. It simply recognizes it's time for a new approach, one taken successfully by almost every other state in the union. So the commission really has my gratitude, not only for recognizing this, but also taking the important step of communicating it to Lansing, and I'm really glad I could be on record supporting it. Now, the second part of why I wanted to speak with you this morning is to implore you to take additional action on behalf of the restaurant industry in our county. As I mentioned, they've borne the brunt of sacrifices made in the name of the public good and continue to fight for solvency amidst crippling restrictions. Our chamber has done its best to support them by launching safety initiatives like Southwest Michigan Safe and revenue generating efforts like the Buy Local Berrien Challenge. And while our efforts have moved the needle, we recognize that there's much more that can be done. Recently, our counterparts at the Greater Niles Chamber and Niles DDA partnered to declare March 1st through 7th the first ever restaurant week in the community of Niles. I think that this is a phenomenal idea and that it'll go a long way in helping drive some much needed consumer spending in that area and for their struggling restaurant operators. So kudos to Eileen Villanueva, Lisa Croteau, and Justin Flagel for making that happen down there. We at the Southwest Michigan Regional Chamber would like to bring this great idea to more communities across Berrien, and we believe that effort would be greatly bolstered by this Board of Commissioners adopting an official resolution to declare March Restaurant Month throughout the county. If adopted, our chamber will work to encourage our members and all area restaurants to create specific specials and promotions in celebration of this event, and will also push local municipalities to adopt resolutions specific to their communities as well. I really want to thank Brian Doucette for being so open to this idea when I approached him, and I'm very thankful to all of you for considering it as well. I think, I don't know that the county's ever adopted a resolution declaring a restaurant month, and if ever there was a time to, the time is now. So I know that we have members and businesses in each one of your districts where you represent, and every single one of them would greatly appreciate it. So I don't want to abuse much more of your time this morning. I just wanted to be on record supporting those two things. If you have questions about anything, please don't hesitate to ask.
Thank you. Questions, comments, concerns? Carrie?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. And thank you, Arthur, for coming to speak to the board today and voicing your support for both of the resolutions. I know that the chamber has certainly done Herculean efforts to try to support our local businesses and to be that champion. My question to you today, Arthur, is what do you think from your perspective our local business community needs to successfully recover from this?
A great question, Commissioner. Thank you for that, and for bringing up the Buy Local Berrien Challenge a couple months back. You know, it's really quite simple. They need what they always need, which is what I call the 3 C's: consumers, cash flow, and certainty. For the last year, many of our businesses locally have had to go without all 3. They've had to go without consumers. Their cash flow has been interrupted because of it. We've tried to backfill that with some financial support from the state and the feds, but that's hit or miss depending on if the business qualifies and can get it. And most of all, business owners need that certainty component, and that's what they're really not getting from the state right now. Just yesterday, the governor was asked if she was going to reopen things soon. She said they were looking at it, but couldn't commit to a timeline. And that's frustrating to hear for businesses who need to plan, who need to operate, they need to purchase products, food, schedule employees, to not have clear guidelines, clear benchmarks, clear dates, when almost every other state in the union is able to provide that to their citizens and employers, is very difficult. So I think we need to just return to basics, get back to the 3 C's, and I think it could be done.
Thank you.
Questions or comments?
Commissioner Bell.
Commissioner Bill?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So, Mr. Havlicek, first I'd like to thank you for coming before the board, and thank you for all of your hard work you and the team over at the Chamber is doing to really serve our community economically and promote our local businesses as a very, very essential part of our community. A quick question. Is there a way, or have you guys in the past worked with our local health department to make sure that, you know, our businesses are following our health guidelines? And also, is it a way that you guys can collaborate in presenting a plan or something comprehensive so that the governor and the state can actually see a possibility of a more regionalized plan being worked out in our community?
Sure, that's a fantastic question, Commissioner Bell. And congratulations, by the way, on your victory. I haven't gotten a chance to say that to you personally yet. The chambers worked really well with the Berrien County Health Department specifically. In fact, basically, since before Michigan declared a state of emergency, we've been in regular communication with them and getting updates from them. There's a phenomenal team over there. I can't stress that enough. Out of the 83 counties in our state, we are extremely fortunate to have the team that we have with Nikki and Jillian and Courtney and Guy and everybody that's over there. We're extremely fortunate to have them. We've partnered with them on a number of items. We launched an initiative called Southwest Michigan Safe, which is was a pledge that we were asking our businesses to adopt. It had nothing to do with the restrictions they were being asked to follow, more about the guidelines that they should follow to keep people safe. The health department helped craft that language for us, which we really appreciated. We provided input on their Back to Work Safe tool, which was an employee wellness tracking tool. They reached out to us on that. They've also taken a very thoughtful approach to working with businesses to educate them and ensure compliance, right? A lot of what's happened this past year has truly can be boiled down to education on how they can keep their employees safe, their customers safe. And every one of my members and the vast majority of businesses I've spoken to have made every attempt to do so. And so I really view the health department as the greatest ally in this, because as we advocate for a positive economic climate, we recognize that public health is fundamental to that. And so they've been truly wonderful. I'd like to work with them more on just about everything, because I think there are some innovative approaches that other states have taken. I know Commissioner Freeling made me aware of one in Colorado specifically, that's county by county. And if businesses, this is summarizing it, but if businesses adhere to a higher standard of protocol and guidelines, the restrictions on them would actually be less. So I think that's something we could try to emulate here. I think we have the right health department to do it, and you can count the chamber to be first in line to partner with them on such an effort.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome.
Harrison.
Anyone else?
Harrison.
Bob? Bob Harrison?
Yes, I just want to compliment Arthur and the leadership at the chamber for really taking a positive approach to dealing with some of the trauma that their members have experienced, and not going negative, but looking for ways to work together with not just our health department, but the state agencies also. So my compliments to the chamber and the leadership they've shown throughout this very difficult year. So I really do appreciate it.
Thank you, Commissioner.
I think Mamie was next. Mamie?
Yes, thank you. Mamie Yarbrough. Welcome to our committee meeting. And what I want to say to you is you said you didn't want to take up too much time, but I appreciate the information and the percentages and all that you gave us. And as you know, we have 2 resolutions we're working on today. And I want to know, do you have any thought about, they talk about 25% and 10 p.m. closing, any number, because I want our resolution to ask for something. And so the 25% is not enough to buy the groceries. So do you have any suggestion of a percentage that in our resolution, it should say, I'd really like for it to say 100%, but would you give us something that would be acceptable?
Sure, Commissioner. Good question. Yeah, I would like it to be 100% also, but the reality in politics, as they say, is it's got to be incremental, right? So I think a minimum of 50%, we would see a lot of our employers be able to reopen their doors. A lot of our members, a lot of businesses locally that were closed due to the November order that shut down dining again. 25% is not financially viable for them to reopen, even though the restrictions were relaxed, They opted to remain either closed entirely, which several did, or takeout only. And I've had many of them express that if they went to 50%, that would at least be worthwhile to open their doors. So I think my answer would be no less than 50%. And hopefully there's a clear roadmap for getting to 75 and then to 100, like some other states. So I would support putting 50% in the resolution. Commissioner Werfel, I think, had her hand up for a while.
Let me handle that part, Arthur, okay, because I can see the whole screen. I think, I'm not sure, John, did you have your hand up? I saw John and then I saw Ezra.
Not at this time. I did not, Mac. No, I was just.
Okay, then Ezra, then Julie.
Arthur, thank you for the representation you're giving the restaurants. But I have to say that I cannot agree with a 50%. I have to agree with 100%. In July of last year, we were open at 100%, and our numbers were where they're at now. We're at between 4 and 5%, 3 to 5%, depending on which graph you're looking at. So I think we should be open 100%. The thing that concerns me as your business, the chamber, I would hope that you would not just concentrate on the individuals who actually have invested all of their money into their private small business. I think that you should also be very, very cognizant and supportive of the employees that work at those small businesses, because you can support a small business, but the small business cannot open if they don't have employees. I and my wife last night had to run to South Bend, so I had dinner at Prime Table. And I talked to the lady there I know, and we were talking about this. She's the owner. They've been in business a long time. But while they were off, one of the things that she was concerned the most about was not about the employees, or was not about the customers that were coming in, but she has 40 employees that she's responsible for. She feels responsible for those 40 employees, and because they're her employees, their family, basically. And those are the people that are being left out in this, if you really think about it, because if we didn't have employees, you wouldn't have a business that was open in the first place. So I just wish that you would expand your thought process, but I'm all for 100%. I'm not for 20, I'm for 50%. 50%, like Mamie said, will be able to get you maybe part of the groceries. We can't have this. I'm going by CDC guidelines, and let the scientific data is where it's at. And it was good enough before. Why isn't it good enough now? Thank you.
Thanks, Commissioner. Let me just say, just to be crystal clear, if you wanted to put 100% in that resolution, I would be 100% supportive of that. I think that we can get there. I think we can do it safely. So I'm in total agreement with you on that. As for the focusing on the employees, your comments are well taken. There would be no small businesses if it weren't for the folks that were running those establishments. And, as you were speaking, several anecdotals came to mind. I'll just share two briefly. Cameron's down in Buchanan. We were having a conversation with the owner, Cameron. He had planned to reopen at 25% capacity on February 1st because he has a larger space and it would be financially viable to do so. He didn't, though. And I asked him why, and he said he couldn't get his employees back. And normally when I hear that, the first thing I think is, did you lose them to unemployment? So that's what I asked. A lot of these lower wage positions, our business owners have had to compete for talent with the unemployment insurance agency. But he said no. He said that he lost his employees to Indiana. which goes back to my certainty. It is, you know, these employees need to put food on the table. Businesses that employ them are responsible for helping them put food on the table. And in an environment like we've been in, those employees are going to make decisions that are best for them and their families. In this case, the decision is to go to a more stable environment in Indiana where they could be at 100% in the restaurants and not worry about their hours being cut, their job being lost, so on and so forth. Then you have an example up here in St. Joe with the Buck, which has remained closed since November 18th. It wasn't financially viable to do takeout, wasn't financially viable to do 25% capacity. Ken Kosminski actually created a second business called State Street Meats and employed all of the employees from his first business, the Buck, at State Street Meats in order to keep food on their tables. Now, not everybody can create a second business, an essential business, to employ the employees from your first business, which, you know, is shut down due to restrictions. But that's the kind of innovation that some of our members, some of our businesses in this community have had to do in order to support their employees. We've been very mindful of the employee facet. We've referred countless unemployment cases, unresolved unemployment cases to our local legislators, helped them navigate assistance options, helped connect them to employment where they could find it. We've been very, very, very cognizant of that because that's ultimately what it comes down to is our fellow neighbors who've lost their positions, lost their livelihoods, and a lot of those wounds were self-inflicted. So I appreciate those comments, and I agree 100%.
Julie.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you for being here, Arthur. At first, I want to say thank you for focusing your presentation on those statistics. Far too often, we focus on the negative statistics and we don't take into account all the positive things that are happening and that the businesses are implementing. And, you know, the percentage of vaccines, the numbers you said that we've vaccinated in the state of Michigan is more than they're fully vaccinated, both shots, is more than the total death count. I mean, we are making progress. We are moving forward. And the same has to be said about our businesses. So I don't have a question for you, but I do have a further comment. And that is I want to thank you and all of our chambers for the work you guys have done with the businesses and for the business communities. I know in Niles, the Node, as you mentioned, the restaurant week next week that they're having. And I'm sure I'm not as familiar with Harbor Country as Ezra, but I'm sure that chamber is also doing a lot of things for their business community. And I just applaud all three of those chambers and any other efforts that are being made for the business community. And at this point, also, if it's appropriate, Mr. Chair, I would like to pull the resolution regarding the restaurant month and the honorary, I think, resolution and bring that motion approved.
I think she got
Do what?
Bring the resolution ending in 2317 for the restaurant month and motion to approve that.
Well, we're not there yet.
You can't, oh, she added.
We can't do that right now.
That's
we're
fine.
upstream. Yeah, we're upstream from that part of the agenda, but we'll get there shortly. We have to finish this, then we have finance committee, then public comments regarding agenda resolutions, and then we get to the consent calendar after that. So but when we get there, go ahead and bring it up. Anyone else have any comments about the presentation from the Southwest Michigan Regional Chamber?
Mr. Hinkleman.
Mr. Chair. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Arthur, I appreciate your comments. I guess I have a question for you. And the question is this, and I'm not quite sure how to word this question, but the way our resolution is worded, to me, it feels as though what we're asking is, please make a change. I would like to be a little bit more assertive in that. I believe that we need to get back to business, and the numbers indicate that through through the CDC guidelines that we were able to do that. The way that the resolution is worded, does it amount to much more than a please? Please change things. Will it have an impact at, and I know you can't foresee that, you can't foretell that, but I personally am in favor of a more assertive approach. And so I just want to find out if the resolution goes far enough, in your opinion, to address where Southwestern Michigan is at this time.
Sure. So I think that one good thing about the resolution, to me at least, is that it's pretty clear in that we cannot continue on the path we're on. We need to find a better alternative, one that takes a lot of these statistics, a lot of the numbers, the vaccine rates, everything into account. And when you do that math, it does add up to being pretty open, having our economy almost back to full strength and fully operational. So I think what it does is it shifts the power from Lansing to locally, where we then can move the needle a lot further, a lot faster, because we know what is best for our community. We live in it every day. So I'd be supportive of more assertive language if you think that's appropriate. I think as written, I think it was drafted, it was well done. And I think it strikes an appropriate balance between recognizing that it's time to reopen, with the fact that we still need at least some protections in place. But those protections have to be mindful of allowing us to get back to work.
Thank you, Arthur.
Okay. Anybody else? Oh, by the way, Don, I see you're on the screen now. Tell us where you're coming in from. Don Meeks.
It's muted. Muted.
Are you in Benton Township?
I'm in Ben Charter Township.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I kind of got in this conversation a little late.
Well, let me get Michael Majerick first, Don, and then you.
Beg your pardon?
Michael Majerick, and then you.
Okay. Yeah, the only statement I wanted to make is, as people look at the people that are out of business now or aren't working, hairdressers and servers and cooks, and yeah, they're getting money from the government in the form of unemployment checks, but you got to look at, I'm in the car business, and I have many people coming to me because cars break down every day. They can't get a loan on unemployment. They can't even talk to a bank when they're furloughed. They cannot get transportation. They can't get their kids to school and back. They can't do anything when that car breaks down. And so unemployment is a good thing to put food on the table, but it doesn't move you forward. If you're looking for housing, you can't get it if you don't have a job. No landlord is going to sign you up. And so you've got no transportation, no housing. It is all going to come tumbling down at some point. Everything else, if we don't get these people back to work. And that is underlying what is also something we have to look at. Okay, that's all.
Thank you, Michael. Don?
You know, I kind of got on this kind of late, but I've been having a little problem with my computer. But I want to kind of say that I kind of agree with opening up our restaurants at the point of, because I think we can comply with the CDC guidelines. But I've been involved with the Cornerstone and also the Chamber over the years. And one of the problems we have all had, people to be mindful about retail leakage. We do have some kind of obligation. Now we can kind of go, now we see what it means not to support our local businesses. So my thing is, we as citizens at the point need to know what we're doing when we spend our money. So my thing is basically this, we should be mindful. And I kind of like the letter that Miss Kelly sent. And people don't understand, they don't realize that we do read some of the things sent to some of the commissioners. And, but it's saying Art, it's say I'm really supportive. Like I said, I wish I could have seen the whole presentation, but maybe I can go back and I can look at through YouTube and I can review it later. But I want to say how important it is that we support our local businesses. Not now, I'm talking about in the future. We're gonna have to rebuild. So maybe we can rebuild a different way. I mean, everybody, we've been spending our money in Indiana. That's not been our problem. But now we can really see it's really a problem because we're spending most of our money in Indiana. So now let's redo this and spend our money in Barron County. And let's support our local business in Barron County. So, and being said that, I'm done. But like I say, I'm kind of outspoken commissioner anyway. But I want to speak basically on what's good for Barron County. So now let's move forward with this. And I'm kind of glad that Nikki our health department weighed in on this, because I did have a problem earlier when I kind of read what's going on and our local health department didn't have no say so. So now let's go forward, but let's go forward in a different way. Let's move forward. Let's lose Barron County. Let's use our money. You see how important our money is. Let's use it. Let's support it. Now that we support that, we support our community. So, and it being said that, I didn't said enough, but like I say, I didn't really had a chance to look at the whole presentation. But just being said, let's move forward in a different way. Thank you.
Thank you, Don.
Oh, you got Kern.
Jim?
Yeah, thank
Jim
you,
Kern?
Mac. Yeah, thanks, Mac. Arthur, thank you for being here this morning and your presentation and your words to us. I have to believe, regardless of how the resolution is worded, in other words, how forceful it is, I have to believe that by us adopting the proposed resolution has got to help you, has got to help the other chambers in the county, and probably helps our state reps and our state senators to be able to say, these are my constituents and this is how they feel. Is that true? Does this resolution help in that regard?
It absolutely does, Commissioner. I think the one thing we've seen move the needle when it comes to rolling back restrictions in our state is actually public pressure. I mean, most recently with the Let Them Play stuff for high school sports, we saw a major public outcry and those restrictions were rolled back. We saw it when we couldn't buy paint, when our boats couldn't have a motor. I mean, some of the more arbitrary restrictions, there was a major outcry and then boom, things were moved. So, you know, I think by taking this action, our county's foremost voice for county government is saying, you know, enough is enough. Let's get on a better path. It's going to make statewide news. It's going to add to the voices in other parts of the state that have said the same thing. It definitely helps our businesses know that you have their back. It helps us in saying, you know, we're not alone in calling for this. We're not saying go completely open. We're saying we want to be in control of our own destiny and we want to reopen things a little more, a lot more than they are now. And I think this accomplishes that. Both resolutions, I think, reflect really well upon each and every one of you and your support for businesses. And I know every one of my members is going to be very grateful.
Okay, thanks again, Arthur.
Anyone else? We'll shortly be getting to the consent calendar. When we do, we can tweak that as the group deems necessary. And if it looks like it might be better to table something and bring it back next week after we do a little touch up on it and get another bulletin from Lansing, we can certainly do that. Arthur, I chime in and say thank you as well for the briefing on behalf of the Southwest Michigan Regional Chamber. Particularly appreciate your comments about the practical implications of a 25% limit on indoor dining. We've heard that we need to be cautious, we need to be mindful of public safety, and I think every one of us agrees with that. We don't want to put people at risk. We also know that the restaurants have not been a hotbed of COVID. Congregate settings have been, the nursing homes have been, the elder population is at greater risk. None of those factors come into play with the folks who are healthy enough to go out to eat. 25%, over the weekend when we had decent weather, I was repairing a bridge on the creek behind our house. I had to take out some 2x12 planks and replace them with new ones because the winter had done some damage. And when I had those several planks removed, the bridge wasn't really any good as far as the bridge is concerned. It couldn't get me across to the other side. 25% is like that bridge that hasn't been repaired. It doesn't work. So we have to at least get back to 50% so these businesses can survive. And then take a measured, safe approach to getting back up to 100%, hopefully by the time we swing into our official summer tourist season, if not before, but using metrics, using data, not using, I don't know what you would call it exactly, but a subjective approach that has been used, quite frankly, and shows a level of indifference towards people who are working for a living, aren't getting an automatic paycheck every 2 weeks like the folks in Lansing. And perhaps as a sign of solidarity with the workers and the business owners, the governor and her team, responsible for this decision as they are, might want to donate their paychecks until these folks can get back on their feet. I mean, it's not going to be a lot of money, but it would certainly be a symbolic sign that they recognize just how much people are hurting. And I end my Thursday sermon for this week. But anyone else have anything before we move on to the next item on the agenda?
I would just say in response to that, Mr. Chair, that that was very, very well said. And to leave you with one more statistic, restaurants and bars in this state have accounted for less than 3% of all outbreaks. So if we're following the data and the science, to me, that math does not add up as to why they've then been asked to sacrifice the most. Just yesterday in the press conference, Governor Whitmer said that last fall, the majority of the cases came from in-home exposures, in-home gatherings, and anybody that is thinking critically about it knows that that makes sense because those are less regulated environments. Whereas in restaurants, you've got folks who are trained to keep people safe. They have to hold themselves to a higher standard. There's sanitation measures in place. That's why they've only accounted for 3% of the outbreaks. There have been many other operations that have, or industries, I should say, that have been far worse than our restaurants. So I think you're exactly right, and it's definitely time.
Very good, thank you. If there's nothing else, we'll move to finance. Madam Chair Yarbrough.
Thank you very much. We have, I'd like to talk to you all for a minute, and I'd ask the Finance Committee members to look on their email, read from Jake Litter, as I explained. This morning we had 2 different bids that we opened, and one was for the road department and the other one was for the sheriff's department. The Sheriff's Department one is the one that I want to talk to you about. It was for firearms, a bid. We sent it out to 3 companies and received bids from 2. And we were surprised that we did not get it from all 3, because one person was a regular retailer and the other 2 companies are companies that have a special law enforcement price. And Under Sheriff Chuck Height was with us, so he could explain to us that they're able to give a better discount on trade-ins and a better discount on the whole price. And as we went along, we accepted the 2 bids, and it was opened by Jake Lideker he's the financial analyst from the finance department. And Doug James, director of finance, was there with us also. And so we opened those 2 bids, made a motion, accepted them. No, Jake Lideker opened the 2 bids. We made a motion, accepted them, and sent them to the Sheriff's Department for them to look at them and see if it was what they needed. Later, during our financial committee meeting, Jake Lideker came back to the table and said the 3rd bidder had sent in his bid, but we never received it. And we think it's because of the weather. And so he was able to give to Jake, one of those numbers showing that things had been processed or sent. And we had much discussion on what we should do, because if the bid was sent, we didn't want to not take it, but still, truly, we had not yet received it at Berrien County. And so with much discussion, what we decided to do, and the company was waiting for Jake to call him back to say what could happen, because he said he could send to us over email the bid. And we decided that with the correct numbers showing that it had been sent with that piece of paper, like the receipt from UPS or however he sent it, and then the bid, we could look at it and we could accept it and send it on, and then do on both sides great looking for this original bid, because we did not want to not include them. I since we were expecting from Jake Lideker an email to the Finance Committee letting us know what was going on, and we were going to open during this time, open the bid and add it to the other. And so I would like to have Jake Lideker and Doug James to talk to us and tell us what's going on. Is that a proper thing? You're ready to do that?
Yes, ma'am. Doug?
Okay. We received information from Joe Hardest with Acme Sports in Seymour, Indiana. The information came in at 10:27 a.m. The email stated that, Jake, I have ran into a snag on this. I am having trouble locating the original copy I kept for myself. I had to get back off of memory to complete another bid form, and I think it is identical or very close to what I originally sent. I would feel better asking for an extension on the bid results to allow for the original package to get to you if that is possible. I am currently working with FedEx to get them to locate and ship my envelope to you as we speak. Unfortunately, time is not on my side, so if I could ask for an extension to be granted, that would be great. Otherwise, go ahead and use what I have attached to proceed. I hope this makes sense. This all makes sense. I will have to get another copy of the notarized form to you, as I can't find the copy here yet. My secretary has not made it in yet. Let me know. His tracking sheet shows that he originally sent the document to us on Wednesday, February 17th. It hit Memphis, Tennessee on the 19th, and there's no tracking information after that. The FedEx website says at the top of the screen, prolonged severe weather across the U.S. is causing delays, including the ability to pick up and deliver in certain cities. And he sent along a a sheet that was not his original document. Okay, it is not a duplicate of the original document. He filled it out again from his memory. And so I leave it to you as to whether you want to proceed on his bid or not, I guess. That's where we are at present time.
Thank you.
Um,
Mamie, what's your pleasure?
And what we know is that our bid opening must be in a public meeting. And that's why, as we discussed, it was said we could do it during other announcements. And then it came to us to do it during the finance report. And so I would like, can we just do what we would do? What I would do is ask committee, what do you want to do?
Well, Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Hinkle. I think that what we dialogued about, for the rest of the board, we need to make sure that the original bid makes its way to us. And so we've offered leniency as a committee because of the weather and because of, and we're trusting that this individual is telling us that they sent us that bid. And that's fine, we can do that, but we do need to verify that. And really the only thing that will verify that is the actual bid coming into us.
Yep.
So if we open the bid and but we accept the bid, just with the caveat that it has to be verified by the original document, because that's what'll have to happen. We can't just accept it because the bids were open publicly. They were open at a public meeting, and then this came to us. So we'll have to have the original document with the original correct dates on it in order to make this right. And so if you're asking me what needs to be done, we can open the document and then but we're gonna have to put a pin in accepting any of these until such time as that document comes in. And there should be some kind of a timeline on that we get that document before next week's meeting. That's my opinion, but we can't get to the point where we question the process that we have, opening those bids in public. That needs to happen, and that bid needs to come in. That bid needs to come in, just not a verified, not a remanufactured bid.
Right.
Committee, Scott Freeling?
Yeah, Madam Chair, I happen to agree wholeheartedly with Commissioner Hinkleman's assessment, because that's what I had basically said during our finance committee. What I would recommend doing is opening the bid here in public, writing down the figures, and then recommending that we send this bid, all three of those bids, to the Sheriff's Department for their purview and specifications based on the facts of when we do get the bid in, maybe by next Thursday, and put a timeline that it matches with what the man emailed us. If it doesn't, then there's a problem. But in order to move it forward, I think that we should at least write down what they had bid and send it on, because I don't think this is something that the Sheriff's Department has to order tomorrow, So.
Commissioner Freeling?
Thank you, Madam Chair. My thoughts on this are, have we ever extended a bid deadline? I think that's to staff. Doug, in your recollection, or Jake, have we ever extended a bid deadline?
Sorry, go ahead.
We did, I believe, during, if I recall correctly, during some of the COVID type issues that were occurring last year. I'm just going from, I don't have the facts in front of me. I'm just trying to recall. To my knowledge, we have not because of weather.
And may I say, there have been times when we've extended the deadline, but it was perhaps that day. You know what I mean? It was after 4 o'clock, or it was after whatever it said. So there have been times with the circumstances, whatever had happened, a time or two, when we said, okay, after much discussion, put it in the bid. But what I would like to see happen is not to open this paper that he sent in. He said he was not sure that it was correct. And then if you go further up and look, you'll see the FedEx papers and all kinds of things attached. So I would like to wait for the actual envelope to come and put all of it together and open it then. And it can be done in the next, hopefully next Thursday. It would be here so that it would be an open meeting. We are automatically having a finance committee meeting next Thursday, so that would fit. But I'd like for it to be done with the actual envelope.
Madam Chair.
Yes.
That is my feeling as well. Without knowing for certain that we were receiving electronic record of the original document, I would feel more comfortable with the process of, as long as there's no urgency in getting what is bid on, to allow that extension until Thursday of our meeting, which would be what, March 3rd, I think, at 9 a.m. If we've not received that document to open in a public meeting, then we would proceed with the recommendation of the department from those bids that we received.
Yes, and that way the front part of it we'll know it's right. And then you said you called Jake, you said you called FedEx, and they said they after Tennessee or something, they didn't know what happened. So, because if the paperwork is not right, the mailing is not right, then we're not going to open it. Huh?
Madam Chair,
Yes.
one thing that I do want to suggest to you, though, is that it's all right to wait to open the bid when the bid comes in. I'm perfectly comfortable with that. But just remember that you probably will be having a decidedly different conversation if what these bidders entered and sent to us electronically does not match that envelope. Because if that happens, then you'll get into a situation where you want to make sure that they meet the qualifications for bid. So before any of that happens, it may be a prudent idea and to open this, or to read it into public record what the bid currently is, and then for us to put still a deadline on that so that we have both things as a matter of public record. I just want to make sure that we're doing it appropriately, because we need to trust the individual, which is what we're saying by allowing that extra time because of weather situation across the country for that bid to come in. But if that happens, then we do need to verify that that it's done with the correct bid, and then seat the two right next to each other, the electronic submission and the other for consideration. But those are just my thoughts.
And my thought is I'd hate to take the bid that he said it's from my memory and it may not be correct. And the copy is probably there if if the secretary or the person he said that had not come in yet was there, she could probably put her hand on it immediately. So I'd like to not go from his memory and let it even be, that we consider it. I'd like for it to be that envelope. You'll know that it came from FedEx when it comes to the building.
I couldn't agree more. If that and if we're just going to allow the timeline for the bid to come in until next Thursday, and that's the one that we open, then that's fine. And the bid itself would prove it. And so then it's just a matter of us just extending that deadline, due to weather-related instances.
Thank you. Thank you. Now tell me, other members, is that all right? We wait for the actual envelope.
Madam Chair, this is Commissioner Scott. I'm fine with that, but as a matter of protocol, then should we remake a different motion to extend bid 2021-007 for the firearms for the Sheriff's Department? Because we did make a motion in finance to send it back to the department for their review and specifications. If we're going to hold off until next Wednesday, we need to retract that motion. I think we need to retract that motion so it's not a part of our public record, and we're going to extend it, because otherwise we're going to have two motions for the same bid.
Okay.
Just
So
my
is
thought.
that one motion to take it away, and then another motion to extend the date. Some, Mac Elliott, attorney Mac Elliott. I think we got a lot of lawyers. Help us.
Well, I'm not wearing that hat right now, but I think you could do that all in one sentence, so to speak.
Okay.
I think you could clean it up, whatever.
Would you, Commissioner? Yeah.
So, can I?
Yeah, Annette?
Yeah, so you're looking for a motion, or you want to make a motion to retract the motion on bid 2021-007 and extend action on that bid until the March 4th, 2021 Finance Committee meeting.
Yes.
Is that what you want to do?
Yes.
Is that your motion, Ezra?
Yes, it is. That is my motion, but there's also a caveat to that. We have to retract the motion we made in finance this morning, I think, too, or do we not need to do that?
Yeah.
It included that wording.
You could, I think that was covered in the way it was stated by Annette. But if you want to restate it, go ahead. And this would be for the 4 members of the Finance Committee to address right now.
Yes, we want to.
And I'll make that motion as long as there is a cross transparency between the Board of Commissioners minutes to the Finance Department minutes of this morning. And I'll make that motion like Annette said. Thank you.
All right, for clarity, your motion is to retract the motion on bid 2021-007 and extend action on the bid until the next Finance Committee meeting, which is March 4, 2021. Is that right?
Yes.
Yes, that is correct. Thank you.
Madam Chair.
Madam Chair, before, just one thing I just want to ask. The bids that were read in, though, those bids have been read in and are have been accepted. The bids have been accepted, correct?
Yes. The Finance Committee.
This does not, what my question, this does not alter the fact that we've accepted the other 2 bids, correct? There you go. All right, thank you, Doug. I appreciate it.
Yeah. May I have a support, please, of that motion?
Madam Chair, I will support that motion.
It's been moved and properly supported. Any further discussion? Clerk Tyler, would you call?
Mamie, why don't you just go ahead and call the roll of your committee?
Okay. Commissioner Scott?
Yes.
Commissioner Hinkleman?
Yes.
Commissioner Freeling?
Yes.
And Yarborough? Yes. Motion carried.
All right, very good. And as an ex officio member of your committee, may I suggest that when you convene next Thursday, you remind anyone who may be observing via Zoom that the committee reserves the right to reject bids that are not in full conformity with bid specs.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, Doug.
Thank you. Thanks, Jim.
We'll move next to public comments regarding resolutions that are a matter of the agenda, and for that purpose, we'll include the added resolution ending in 2172, which is the traffic control order, which authorizes the removal of out-of-date signage on 2 of the county roads. So we're now receiving public comments on resolutions on today's agenda.
Your first one is from Eric Lester, MD in St. Joseph Township. How about adding your resolution requesting the public to wear masks appropriately? Hager Township, Peter Colovis in Hager Township. Thank you, Arthur. We appreciate the support for all county businesses. In particular, thank you for bringing as much support as we can rally for the restaurants and the hospitality industry. And I believe that's all the comments on the consent calendar today, or the agenda resolutions.
Thank you. I think both are well taken. The one about masks, I would note that the resolution 2151 in the second paragraph talks about being open in accordance with CDC guidelines, which I believe involve wearing masks, but it certainly wouldn't hurt to encourage people to wear them. It's always good to be mindful of safety and caution. All right, now, Julie, you had something you wanted to address with 2317. I think.
I was just gonna move it up in the agenda. That's all I was gonna do, since it wasn't actually a binding resolution. So, but no, we probably need to pull though resolution 2151 for discussion.
Okay. Does anybody have anything else on the consent calendar, including that added resolution on the signage, that you want to address individually? Okay, all right, then we're going to pull 2151 for individual discussion. We'll go forward with the rest of the consent calendar, including added resolution ending in 2172. Is there a motion to approve the consent calendar minus 2151?
So moved. Curran, I'll make that motion.
Moved by Curran, supported by Scott. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Freely,
Yes.
Harrison,
Yes.
Pinkelman,
Yes.
Majerick,
Yes.
Meeks,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Walrat,
Yes.
Werfel,
Yes.
Yarborough,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Curran,
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes.
Mr. Chair, you have 12 yeas.
Thank you. Consent calendar is approved minus 215. Did I say 2151? Yeah, 2151. Sorry, I was looking at the date right under it, 2021, and I thought I gave the wrong resolution number. So B2102151. Julie, what do you want to talk about?
Well, I guess we want to make a motion. I suppose that we have to make a motion to do something with it before we can discuss it, I'm assuming. So I'll make a motion to approve this resolution. But I do have some things I'd like to say.
I would support Commissioner Freeling.
Okay, moved by Werfel, supported by Freeling. Discussion?
Okay, so my comments are, this resolution really does address the restaurants. However, there are several industries that are still affected by these orders. For instance, last week, I'm sorry.
What happened?
Go ahead, you're okay. I muted the room so you didn't have any background noise. Sorry.
Go ahead.
Our parks last week had a discussion regarding booking events that promoters can't commit because they're not sure what the metrics are, what the changes will be, all of those things. Those promoters are going to end up booking those things in Indiana because they'll get the Southwest Michigan residents to come to them there. It doesn't address those industries. It doesn't address our wedding industry. It doesn't address gyms that are still at 25% as well. There's a lot of other industries within our county that are still very much affected by the orders that we left off of this resolution. I think we need the regionality, the metrics. I think that information is clear. That we have to have a clear understanding for our businesses so that they can make plans and they can make their own decisions. If this is a start, I'm good with that. And that's why I made the motion to approve it. But I expect the commission to have further resolutions next week. And to be clear, I am not advocating any unsafe opening. I'm not advocating no mask. I'm not advocating no social distancing. We do need those things. I think we've all learned in the past 11 months that those things have helped and they are important. But I also believe that if we can follow our other neighboring states and following CDC guidelines, that we can open safely and keep our residents safe as we continue to vaccinate and we continue to move forward. Those are my comments.
Other comments?
Go ahead, no, I didn't have you on, sorry.
Yes, Riante.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like for the resolution to include that we are working with the health department. I think including that in that resolution will send a message to not only our governor, but to counties all over the state, that Berrien County is being the example of working in collaboration with our health professionals community, that they would recommend us moving forward with a reopening plan more specific to regional regional areas. I think if we include that language in there, that'll not only send a clearer message, but also be more effective. Is something that our state legislature can use to advocate on our behalf, to let them know that not only are the regional chamber recommending this and the county government recommending this, but the health community is also recommending this. I think if we all set that example of collaborative work, this will be much more effective. So that's my comments on that.
Very good, thank you. Anyone else?
Mac?
Ezra?
Yes, I've got a few comments. I am going to support this. I'm not happy with it, but I'm going to support it because I feel it's a start. I think our job as a county board needs to view this resolution as a start, and we're going to finish this one way or another later on. I am open and want 100% opening. We were following the CDC guidelines, and our percentages last July were the same as they are right now. And we were 100% open. We didn't have the problems until later on in the year with the family gatherings and things. I'm sure all of you remember that the health departments and whatever said that people aren't getting these from being crowded on the beaches. They're only getting it from indoor venues. Well, that's all good guesstimates, but that was not scientific data. The data shows from the CDC, if you're below 10%, you should be wide open. Okay, that's my big issue. The next thing is that I just want this board and everybody to know is that we're bombarded every day with news articles and that. But one thing that I think is very telling, in the state of Michigan, Detroit, Grand Rapids, Lansing, Flint, etc., who has airports, okay? The airlines are at 100% capacity. Your big businesses, such as your big box stores and your Myers, your Walmarts, and whatever, 100% capacity. I don't understand why small business is picking up the brunt of COVID for the entire state of Michigan when big business doesn't. There's nobody at Myers telling me, well, 5, you have to wait, sorry, you can't go in. Okay, 5 people have left, you next 5 can go in. That's not happening. They're not under any of these constraints. And even though I think this is a start, and I'm going to vote in favor of this, I want the board to be known that we need to do more for our people, and not just for the businesses, but for the employees who work for those businesses. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Any other comments from members of the board?
Mr. Chair, This is
Yes.
Commissioner Freeling. Thank you. I just want to make all of the members of the board aware, because I had asked the question if we had communicated with the health department, received feedback from the health department, particularly our director, with regards to this resolution, because as Commissioner Bell stated, we should be supportive of those efforts that are ongoing with our health department and those who are on the front lines. And to what Mr. Havlicek had said, it's not business versus public health, and kind of pitting each other against one another, but finding that happy middle ground that we can be working together. Because as elected officials, our job is not only to help to support in the midst of what we've been in. We've been really doing a lot of crisis management, but now it's time to mitigate that, to move forward and be forward thinking as elected officials of what does the next phase look like. We heard from those who are in the industry this morning about one of the harder hit industries, and what their needs are. And I am supportive of this resolution, as the other commissioners have stated, Commissioner Warfel and Commissioner Scott. I feel like this is a beginning of a great conversation of what metrics need to be met. How do we clearly communicate those benchmarks, and how do we work collaboratively with our health officials and those in the business industry to help make Berrien County what our mission statement states, and that is being resilient, to be able to respond to everything that comes before us and to come out on the other side stronger and better and greater. So those are my comments. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, I would note a public comment was submitted by email prior to the start of the meeting, not submitted through the chat function of the Zoom meeting. It's from Cheryl Marie of New Buffalo Township, and it pertains to this resolution, and it will be with the clerk as a communication to the board. All right, if there's nothing else, we've got a motion that has been moved and supported. Will the clerk please call the roll?
Harrison,
Yes.
Engelmann,
Yes.
Majerick,
Yes.
Meeks,
Yes.
Scott,
Yes.
Ballrat,
Yes.
Werfel,
Yes.
Yarborough,
Yes.
Bell,
Yes.
Curran,
Yes.
Freeling,
Yes.
Elliott.
Yes,
Mr. Chair, you have 12 yeas.
thank you. Commissioner reports. Does anyone have anything they wish to share?
Yes.
Yes,
may I-
ma'am.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Amy Yarborough. I would like to let you all know that on Tuesday, February 23rd, 2021, the Honorable Mayor of the City of Benton Harbor, Marcus Muhammad, named the Benton Harbor Public Library after Mamie L. Yarborough, who is a resident of the City of Benton Harbor and president of the Benton Harbor Public Library Board and a Berrien County Commissioner for District 4. I have been many years on the library board. I was shocked and I was pleased. I've had a Benton Harbor Public Library card since I was 5 years old, if that is the age that you get them. And so I wanted to thank the Mayor Muhammad and the City of Benton Harbor Board of Commissioners, and I wanted to make that report to you all. Thank you.
Thank you. That's quite an honor. And Marcus called just a minute ago and said you have 3 overdue books that you need to return. But
That's probably true.
no, really, that's great, Mamie. That's just great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yeah, Mac, this is Commissioner Walrath. I just want to say I attended, about 6 meetings this week, but one was in the AAA Area Agency on Aging, and they gave a community service award this year at our annual meeting to our health department, as well as the Van Buren and Cass. And it was a very, very great to hear that award. Nikki was there to accept it, and we congratulate them and the staff and everyone over there. Our health department is fantastic.
Great, thanks, Dave. Anyone else have anything they want to share? Okay, we'll move on to public comments, not limited to resolutions on the agenda.
Mac, while we're waiting for that, just a quick question. Will, as the resolution now goes to the state, and the one that we talked about, opening back up, as that resolution goes there, I'm sure that, as always, the office there will send out communication to us to let us know what the response was. And because I believe that my hope is that this garners a response rather than just a blank stare. So that'll be communicated to us on the feedback that we get from the state based on the resolution.
Yes, if we get anything, the clerk will let us know. As you know, John, we never heard from the governor in response to the communication that we sent last spring, but maybe we will this time.
May I ask?
Madam Clerk.
Would you like me to forward that resolution on to the county clerks as a communication from Berrien County?
John?
I would certainly like that done, but I think that all resolutions of this type should go to across the state of Michigan. And I realize that the regional approach here is maybe unique to those border counties, but certainly I would like that message to be sent out.
I'd support that too. It needs to be sent out so everybody can see exactly what we're doing and what we're trying to accomplish.
And I guess the other thing, the other thing is, Mr. Chair, I just want to make sure that this doesn't fall off our radar. If the answer for this is just silence, I don't want the conversation to stop here at our table with this. I expect that we be taken very seriously about this and look for a comment on our thoughts. And so if we don't hear anything, I'd like the conversation to continue about opening back up.
Very good. If there's no objection, the Michigan County Clerks
And I can get a local.
Association and the local clerks representing the 39 political subdivisions in this county will receive copies.
I don't have the other list.
As for keeping this discussion live, the squeaky wheel gets the grease. And I imagine each week we can keep making noise, and I'd be quite happy to help make that happen.
Mr. Chair, this is Commissioner Werfel. In
Yes,
support
ma'am.
of what John is saying, I would also like to add that maybe we could appoint a subcommittee of commissioners to work on further resolutions and to further this discussion.
Well, let's take that under advisement for the time being, but let's all just agree that we'll remain committed to keeping this on the radar. And I think we can staff things adequately, but we can keep in mind that we can create a subcommittee if we feel the need to do so. Anyone else have anything while we're waiting for public comments?
I do.
Yes, ma'am.
Should I wait for announcement and reminders? I would like to let you all know there is a land bank meeting today at 2:00 on Zoom.
Okay. Well, and we'll remind them during announcements and reminders as well then.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. All right, let's find out if anyone has any comments out there in the virtual world.
Okay, Adolph Peltzer from Hager Township. Also, I would like to know how much the drugstores are getting for each vaccine. Where is the research proving that wearing a mask will keep the virus away compared to no masks? Mr. Lester, thank you for your comments about the mask being part of the resolution. Cheryl Marie Lynch of the Lynch family in New Buffalo Township. Commissioners, I have a societal interest in protect as to your 2 coronavirus-related resolutions showing on your agenda today. I am again offering my previously offered resolution content for your consideration. I had also provided you with the documented support for its content. The one component is your omission of acknowledging that there are now physician-proven natural substances for the prevention and cure of the coronavirus and is purported but unproven mutations. The other missing component is that there is a direct correlation between the reported death count from the virus and the decrease in reported deaths from the ordinary flu of years past. Your resolution, NE 150, references only the number of cases as a benchmark to be considered, which is not a science-based determiner of the need for an ongoing lockdown. For your resolutions to have teeth, you need to include your demand for an independent forensic accounting of the legitimate death statistics. You should also demand that the health department officers investigate the facts that include in their orders the natural means to contain and cure the virus from its citizens and business owners can individually choose to utilize for the purpose of fully restoring their rights of physical liberty and economic vitality instead of relying on vaccinations or obeying wholly untested masking and social distancing measures. The latter demand will support your law enforcement officers' obediences to the health department's science-based orders. For these reasons, I claim that your resolution's current content evidences your violation of your representation of citizens' interests. As remedy, change your document accordingly or hold an immediate public hearing at which you present these critical science-based matters. That is my comment. Tony Benhart from Sodas Township. I have read a few articles and I still feel 110% behind the county administrator dealing with the road department manager. It was long overdue. Yeah, there's just a gentleman commenting about us censoring, but it only allows you 200 comments in YouTube. That's a YouTube rule. That is not the board's rule. And so
What's that?
I believe that, oh, there, Adam, I'm going to spell it, BLEMATL. Why is the board censoring public comments and only allowing 200 characters on YouTube? He is from Lincoln Township. That's all for public comments today.
Okay. Is it correct that YouTube imposes that limit, not the Berrien County Board of Commissioners?
That is correct.
All right, thank you. All right, well, thank you to everyone who took the time to submit comments. We're now at other business. Does anyone have any other business before we get to announcements and reminders? All right, hearing none, I believe, yes, Carrie?
I'm so sorry. In other business, I just want to again take the moment to promote the ongoing broadband survey. Going to michiganmoonshot.org/Berrien to fill out those surveys. We have until March 26th to go ahead and have every resident in Berrien County fill that out for their households. Thank you.
Thank you, Terry. Did anyone else have any other business? All right, under announcements and reminders, Mamie, did you want to repeat what you mentioned a few minutes ago?
Yes, thank you. There will be a land meeting today at 2:00, and we're on Zoom, and I imagine you can see it on YouTube.
Anyone else have an announcement or a reminder?
One more public.
While you're thinking about it, we have one more public comment that percolated through.
This is still Adam Lemonel, I'm not sure if I'm saying his name right, from Lincoln Township. More importantly, can someone explain the decision to fire Jason Latham, former managing director of the road department? He was an outstanding manager and was the reason for many improvements and was a good leader of men.
Okay, thank you. No one's been fired. Announcements and reminders. Back to that, you see on our agenda, PHS next Thursday at 8 a.m., Finance next Thursday at 9 a.m., our regular board meeting at 10:30 next Thursday. As of right now, we will have a COVID briefing next Wednesday at 11 through the EOC portal. And I can't think of anything else we need to go over. If anyone has something, wave their hand. I don't see any hands moving, so I think we're done. We'll